Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Heel Brothers Scouting Report. My name is Nathan, and this is Alan. We are your
Hello.
Heel Brothers. Today, we are doing the very first ever Heel Brother Scouting Report covering North Carolina's Week 1 matchup against the Minnesota Golden Gophers on August 29th, 2024. North Carolina takes the field up in Minnesota against the Golden Gophers. And today, we are joined by a awesome group that covers the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Introducing Max and Kurt of the Ski U podcast. How's it going, guys? Welcome into the Heel Brothers Scouting Report. It is great to have you all with us today. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Yeah, doing good.
Good,
Always
man.
looking forward to talk Gopher football. So appreciate you guys having us on.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
and
thanks for coming.
I've been keeping an eye on you guys ever since we agreed to do this, and I think you guys have been doing a great job over there at the Ski U podcast. If you are a Minnesota fan and you are watching this scouting report, be sure to head over to the Ski U podcast on YouTube and also on Twitter and give these guys a follow and keep an eye on what they do. These guys do a great job. Max, Kurt, and also Spencer as well. They're third. They do a great job covering the Golden Gophers, and you can definitely tell they definitely love Minnesota football. Look at all the gear that Kurt's got out there. Back behind him and the
I got to
apparel.
do something with
Max.
this space back here.
Yeah,
it's
Alan,
just
you got to do better with
blah.
that. I've got the helmet back here. I can't really. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it with the brand new setup and everything to show off everything
Sure.
that I got. But yeah, I got to get like you, Kurt, because you're doing a great job with that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I try.
Yeah, man. Well, this is the second of the home and home series that North Carolina and Minnesota are going to be playing. Last season, North Carolina and Minnesota squared off inside of Kenan Stadium, where North Carolina came out with a 31-13 victory over the Golden Gophers. It was quite an interesting back and forth game, honestly. We kind of talked about it a little bit off air, but a few missed opportunities for Minnesota to be able to really make that thing a football game, and even a game that really Minnesota even could have won, especially with a few of those plays. But we have a little bit, just a few questions for you guys to ask you about the Minnesota Golden Gophers this season. A little bit of a different team, got some changes. But really quickly, before we get into our questions, I just want to give you guys the floor really quick. Kurt, I'll start with you. Max, you can follow up behind him. Tell us a little bit of what North Carolina fans and Minnesota fans can expect out of this year's Minnesota team.
Like always, Minnesota's gonna run the football. We got Darius Taylor. PJ absolutely loves him. We all love him. He's a great running back. I would expect him in this first game, assuming it's close to get about 30 touches. He did have some success last year in the matchup. It was really the only point of the offense that did. So I'm expecting two great rushing attacks. You guys have a great running back as well in Hampton. So interesting to see how that plays out. And I think the big question mark for me this game is we got a new quarterback and then also new defensive coordinator. The defense had struggles, not just in the game against you guys last year, but kind of continued throughout the year. So I'm curious to see, in particular, our linebacking core, how they do without, because they didn't bring in any transfer linebackers. So it's the same group, just a new coordinator. We're going to see if he can get them to make any adjustments that they weren't able to do last year.
Yeah, for kind of like what Kurt said, coming in with a new quarterback, even though we haven't seen him yet and he hasn't played at all at the the FBS level, he does come in with 4 years of playing experience at the FCS level and has been pretty much productive his entire career. Last year we came in with a new quarterback who was young and inexperienced. We kind of saw how that worked out. So this year, even though he's young or he's new, but he's really not young, he does come in with that experience, at least as a leader. And just the experience of being a heavy passing quarterback. We haven't really done that a lot. Like Kurt said, our strength is our run game. So it'll be interesting to see how we can use him and at least the threat of the pass and how that can even help the run game too. And then on top of that, we do come with a pretty experienced offensive line. I think pretty much every spot except for our center is senior, basically. And then our center even too played pretty significantly as a true freshman last season. So everywhere at the offensive line is pretty experienced. Same on the defensive side of the ball. We've we've kind of talked about on our own show that we're excited about the depth we have bringing in on our defensive front, and we can just hoping and crossing our fingers that our linebackers can stay healthy, because last year that was a complete detriment. We feel like we do have a lot of strength at linebacker, but injuries were a huge problem. So hoping to avoid that.
Yeah, and I want to circle back really quickly. Let's talk about that brand new quarterback. I think his name is Max Brosmer. I believe it's what his name is. He is a fifth-year senior. He was playing down with the New Hampshire Wildcats for the first 4 years of his tenure, and now he finds his way over here up in Minnesota. Tell me a little bit about this quarterback. Tell me what he's going to bring to your offense, and tell me what the differences he might have between him and also what you had last year in I don't know his full name, but I just know him as the Greek Rifle.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll start. So Brosmer, compared to Ethan, he might not be as athletic as Ethan Kaliakmanis was advertised as, but every compliment we've heard from PJ about him is that he's came in and just hit the film room and has total command over the offense. They're throwing a lot at him right now in practice, and they said it's tough to get him to mess up. So he's absorbing the playbook fast and learning everything as quick as possible. So cerebrally, he's a lot more ahead of Ethan probably at this point last season. And I don't want to downplay his arm strength. It's just not necessarily a strength compared to that's what Ethan's strength was. Max Brosmer is much more of read the field, know what coverage they're in, and get the ball to where it should be. He's much more of a facilitator that way, not necessarily the playmaker that Ethan's upside was supposed to lead to. But everything we're hearing is that he's just a great leader and is just taking the guys out, throwing. He took them down to Georgia, which I believe he's from, during the offseason. All the receivers and running backs went with him and got a lot of reps in there. So just a great leader to come in, even though it's only going to be 1 year. There's a lot of optimism from Gopher Nation behind him, and hoping that we can get a competent passing game this year.
Yeah, hopefully, guy too that just come in with some confidence right away. Like we said, he has all that experience. It was at a lower level, but he was able to do it. And if he had less production at that level, we probably have a lot more questions. But the fact that he was up for a lot of awards. He probably broke some records at New Hampshire, I'm sure, with the numbers he put up. And that too, coming in with Ethan last year, like Kurt said, all we really heard about was, well, he's got a huge arm, and we've got a lot of good wide receivers he can throw to, so should be able to take the top off some defenses. And then it just came down to he couldn't really make the short intermediate throws. He didn't really use the right touch on the ball all the time. And once he kind of lost the confidence of our offense, and our, PJ Fleck basically kind of took the ball into his hands a little bit, it felt like sometimes it was kind of impossible for him, it felt like, to get that confidence back. So hopefully with this offseason, with the new quarterback coming in and with how productive or how impressive supposedly he's been, they didn't have a spring game, so we really don't know for sure. But if he does come in, if he does come in with that confidence and has the confidence of the coordinators and PJ Fleck, then hopefully they can open up that offense for him a little bit more than they did last year.
Well, my first question out of the gate, y'all did a pretty good job of just solidifying what I was going to ask, but I was going to switch it to the new defensive coordinator, Heatherman. Is that his name? Corey Heatherman?
Yep.
Heatherman. So everything that I read about him, he likes to use this word violence. And so y'all got a new coordinator, just like UNC has a new coordinator, and he's got the nickname Minister of Mayhem. So I guess I'll pivot this question, and instead of just tell us what you think about him, tell us what you hope he changes about the defense to make your defense more productive.
Yeah, I think the biggest
or more
thing
violent.
Yeah, and that's really the perfect word and the thing we're looking for. And it's not like our defenses in the past weren't physical and weren't as violent. I think what we're looking for is this defense to just bring some more pressure, especially in the pass game. We have some pretty talented defensive ends, it feels like, that can create pressure. But the number of times we only rushed with 4 and just dropped the rest in coverage, it just felt like we were giving quarterbacks too much time, especially against quarterbacks like Drake May that are just going to pick you apart no matter what if you bring 0 pressure at all. So I think what we're looking for, or at least what I'm looking for, is just the defensive coordinator to bring in a little bit more pressure, maybe some different looks and some blitz packages, just to help out with the pass coverage too. And that, if we're running into a quarterback that can just sit back and sling it, then we got to make him move his feet somehow. So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'll just kind of steal what PJ's talked about. So Joe Rossi was our old coordinator. He actually left for Michigan State. He's from the area. He got like, I think, $300,000 pay raise. So tough to blame him for leaving for that much more money. But yeah, Corey Atherman, PJ has been saying everything he's done is to simplify the defensive side of the ball. He felt we were getting a little bit too into the mental side of things last year, and it really caused us to look and play slow. So Corey Atherman has been brought in to simplify things and let guys just run around and make plays because they feel like they do have some athletes on that side of the ball, like Max said. So just getting back to playing football and letting your guys make plays. Obviously it's college football, Division I level. You can't just sit in a zone the whole time, but hopefully there is an increase in blitzes, like Max alluded to, which is what Heatherman was known for when he was defensive coordinator at James Madison and Maine, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at what you're saying. It's just like what you're saying that your defensive coordinator is saying is the exact thing
Football
that
speak,
Jeff
they all
Collins
say it.
is exactly what Jeff Collins
we
just
like long lost brothers? I mean, good Lord, man. Our program.
I would like to say that, but you guys have had a much more successful offense than us. So I mean, we were like bottom 6 in
y'all have
passing
national
last year,
championships at least to your name. We don't have any of that over here at North Carolina, much less even an ACC championship for that matter. Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. Another thing that compares us both. Let's talk about that star running back of yours, Darius Taylor. We got a little bit of a taste of him last year. The guy's fast. He's big. He's physical. He's that kind of nasty. Tell me the kind of with your offensive play style. For instance, North Carolina, it's going to be very run heavy, I believe, this year for North Carolina. Tell us, since new quarterback. Wideouts that we'll also talk about right here in just a second. You're getting used to that brand new offensive system with brand new quarterbacks, a whole new quarterback room from what you were telling me off air. Tell me how this offense is going to be relying on Darius Taylor throughout the season.
He's going to be the heart and soul of the offense. I would expect it all flows through him. It'd be great if our passing game is competent enough to help him out, but it's all going to run through him. 4-star kid out of Michigan. Michigan came at him late in his senior year of high school. He stuck to his commitment to the Gophers. We were thrilled. I guess as far as something maybe new that we're trying to see out of him this year that we didn't get to see a lot of last year, especially against you guys, is throwing him the football. He did take some snaps at receiver in high school. He's a pretty powerful guy, so we're not going to be lining him up out wide or anything, but one thing Brosmer did at his previous school was he liked to find the check down running back when nothing was there, something that the Gophers just refused to do, or at least don't have in their arsenal up until this point. So I expect him to catch the ball a little bit more than what we've seen previously. But yeah, like you said, I think the biggest thing that stands out when you watch him, he's just powerful. He can make that first guy miss and then just put his shoulder down and turn a 1-yard run into about a 5-yard gain. That's just what he did as a true freshman last year. And yeah, I'm sure he's going to get plenty of carries in this first game.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to believe that he did what he did as a true freshman, not only just the numbers he put up in such a short amount of time. His season was also hampered by injuries, so that was pretty disappointing. But it was also kind of the same trend that we've seen with running backs, is that once we have our bell cow, PJ is just going to run them and run them and run them, and there's no stopping him. So hopefully, too, we can use him more efficiently so that he can kind of stay healthy and kind of have him at his best throughout the season. And I think we saw that in the offseason with the transfer portal. We did bring in 3 more running backs, which I think a lot of Gopher fans were confused by. They were like, we have Darius Taylor, we have other guys. Why are we bringing more running backs? And I think it doesn't take very long to look at the numbers, the number of carries that he got in just a couple of games and go, oh, yeah, that's not going to last very long, especially when you're just running inside zone over and over and over again.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, we
actually kind of
ran
funny you
just as much
mentioned
as the
that.
academy schools last year. So
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. North Carolina, we went out and we picked up another running back ourselves out of Southern Cal. You looked at Amari Hampton last year. It helped him a lot considering you have Drake May. You had some pretty great wideouts out there to be able to throw to, so that kind of opened up some gaps for him. But you use him so much, you're gonna get that man hurt if you're not careful. So we've done that very same thing, and we have some young guys hopefully to spell some minutes for him as well. But Alan.
The second question I was going to ask, and it's just an opinion-based question, but on your defensive side of the ball, which guy are you looking to make the step up from last year that can really lead your defense into the next, tier? If you're following me, like,
yeah.
he's highly recruited. He come in as a freshman, sophomore, highly recruited, and now he's just, you're just salivating like, oh my God, if he can just be what he's supposed to be, this defense is going to be next level.
Yeah, I would say it's probably Cody Lindenberg, our starting middle linebacker. And it's not so much from a performance standpoint that, we kind of seen what he can do. It's just from a healthy standpoint. It feels like every season he's been just riddled with injuries and we never get to see him at full strength. But he's a guy that when he's at 100%, I mean, he could dominate at the middle linebacker position. And that's just a spot that we saw when we didn't have him, just how terrible our run defense was last year. But when he was on the field, even if he was not 100%, it was like a night and day difference. So he's a guy I would say just being in the middle of the field and with run defense being so important in the Big Ten, I think he's probably one of the most important players on our defense. But if he can't stay healthy, then things might fall apart a little bit.
Yeah, a couple other names I'd throw out there is Jaw Joyner, a defensive end. He didn't have a ton of sacks last year. I think he finished with 6 or 6.5. If I'm just trying to recall that off the top of my head. But Ryan Burns, who's the 247 Gopher writer for Minnesota, he always brings up this stat of all the returning defensive ends in college football. Jaw Joyner was top 4 in pass rush win rate, so he won like 22% of his pass rush attempts, which is really high, and he just needs help from the other side of the other edge to get more of those to end up as actual sacks. But if he's able to do that, I mean, he's a complete game changer. Iowa, he really flashed. He was in the backfield constantly. He's the one guy we look to that can consistently get after the quarterback. He gets a lot of hurries, and so he needs a little bit of help to cap more of those opportunities off as sacks. But I would say Jaw Joyner is also that guy that could take it up a notch this year and be the first Gopher defensive end to finish with 10 plus sacks in a long time.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I kind of have a very similar question, but it's more it's specifically in that wide receiver room. Who is going to be that guy? I know you guys brought in Elijah Spencer last season, and he was supposed to be, a big time player for you guys. Tell me if is he the guy that's going to kind of help your 5th-year quarterback coming in to the FBS level, playing in a power conference like the Big Ten? Is it him? Is there another wideout that we're not seeing? Who is it that's really going to stand out in that wide receiver room this year?
Yeah, well, the number one is Daniel Jackson. He's going to be in his final year of eligibility. I believe he was second team All Big Ten last year, second or third team. He had about 850 yards and 7 touchdowns, I think. But yeah, he's a legit number one guy. He's not going to break the field. He's fast, but not game-breaking speed fast. It's not something where he's going to be, taking the top off the defense constantly. He's more of a really purified route runner and just a great catcher of the football. He's really the most dependable guy we have and the only one we could really count on last season. So as far as like the alpha in the room, it's him. And then, yeah, you mentioned a couple guys, Elijah Spencer. We're looking to fill that number 2 spot. We're hearing a lot of good things from him in the offseason. Again, we haven't been able to actually see that with no spring game, but he was at his time at his previous school, which I believe was Charlotte. Max can correct me if I'm wrong on that. He was like an all freshman player there with I think over 1,000-yard season that year. So he's got potential. He's in his final year of eligibility, so we're hoping for him to take that next step. And we kind of reloaded that room as well. We brought in some more transfers. I'm not sure how much they'll see the field this year, but a guy that's been there and was hurt all season last year for the most part was Lemecki Brockington. Didn't play a lot last year, but when he did, before he got hurt, he was averaging over 20 yards per catch. A couple years ago, Gopher fans love him because he took a 45-yard. He took a slant 45 yards to the house against Wisconsin. That was the game-winning score with only about 3 minutes left in that game. So he's already a hero for that reason, and we're looking forward to see what he can do with the healthy season.
Yeah, those three are definitely the top three. One of the other transfers was Tyler Williams we got from Georgia. He's a guy that, could see the field some this year. We're not really expecting a whole lot, or we haven't really heard a whole lot yet, but is a bigger body wide receiver that could maybe potentially pose as a matchup, kind of create some mismatch on the outside, which is going to be key too, because last year we relied a lot on one of our tight ends, Brevin Spanford, who I think was like 6'8" and just a monster at tight end. Even though he's playing wide receiver, you can kind of fill in some of those, I guess, some of those sub packages or some of those formations where we would have Spanford split out wide just to create a mismatch. So he's another name to look out for, but could, possibly a high ceiling, but could also maybe not touch the field very much in his first year.
Yeah. And I just got to throw his name up because our writers have talked about him the last couple of days at practice. We also got Donald Driver's son, Christian Driver. He's a transfer from Penn State. He was hurt all spring, so I wasn't expecting to hear much about him leading up to the first game, but it sounds like he is maybe a little bit more of an explosive player out there compared to the rest of the receivers. So I'm not sure he'll be out there a ton, but if he is out there, they're probably going to try and get him like a jet sweep or send him deep. He's that kind of type of receiver that we just don't have a lot of. So again, that's just pure speculation because PJ.
I'll make sure to send that to Mac Brown.
Yeah.
Jeff Collins needs
PJ
that
doesn't
right
let the fans know anything. So yeah.
They're giving us all the secrets here on the scouting report. That's exactly
all the secrets. You just got to know the right questions to ask.
That's right.
Oh,
Joke's on you. PJ's just going to run the ball 40 times.
Mac will say it too. They're just going to line it up and run it down our throats until we prove that they have to do it otherwise. So
yeah, that's what he said. They're just going to run it until we can stop them. So
yeah,
he's not wrong.
But no, my final question. It's not nearly as serious as the rest of them. With the lines of scrimmage being so significant in Big Ten football, the lines are absolutely massive. Like the size of your players, even in Minnesota, and I'm not saying sorry guys, Minnesota's not Ohio State and Michigan. I'm sorry, I know they're not, but y'all even
that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Without that clout that they carry, your lines of scrimmage are huge compared to most ACC schools. Mm-hmm. Where do you find them? What do you feed them?
Is it all the corn out there? Yeah, it's corn. That's it. That's corn, bro.
Yeah, and how do you convince them to come? North Carolina can't find these kids.
We finally got two guys that are like 6'8" on the tackle position, and we're just shocked that we found those down here.
One come out of like North Texas.
Yeah.
Well, I will say when guys end up that way on the Gophers team at least, and I mean look at Iowa and Wisconsin as well. I mean, as far as sending guys to the NFL, they're obviously a step ahead of us in that aspect. But yeah, in these Midwest states, you get some lankier farm kids that, they're only maybe 190, 200 pounds. Well, heavier than that, but they're pretty light out of high school, and you get them through the weight room that first year or two, and they really just pack on the weight. And I think it's really just a testament, in my opinion, to the developmental program of it.
Right.
I like PJ, but I'm not in love with PJ like a ton of Gopher fans are. I'm not trying to start any drama with Gopher fans over this. But one things I constantly give him praise for is he's done a significant job of improving the offensive line his entire time here. We're way deeper than we ever were under the previous regime, and we've actually sent guys to the NFL from the offensive line, which what the previous regime couldn't really do. So he's done a really good job of getting those kids here and developed up into usable Big Ten players. And something in the corn for the Midwest kids.
I mean, they're
two New York strips for
6'5",
breakfast.
360. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. I mean, no wonder they're good at running the football. I mean, you just hand the ball off and you can't see him for the first 2 or 3 minutes.
Right.
You're just like, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Is he here? Is it like where? You just hide.
That's their best plan. So.
Hey, if it gets you football games, it gets wins in football games. That's all that matters, man.
I mean, because when I was watching the game, that was what I noticed when the game started. I was like, holy cow, they are huge. Like, how do you even get a pass rush on these guys?
Yeah.
Well, since you brought up the offensive line, I will shout the praise of Arianti Ursary. He's our left tackle, considered a top 5 tackle by the experts, returning to college football. So he's more of an athletic freak. He is big, but he's a guy that can actually move. So PJ calls him the most talented tackle he's ever coached. So he's got hopes this year being a pretty high NFL draft pick, potentially top 3 rounds. So just shout out to one guy on the offensive line since you brought it up.
So Des Evans and Kamen Rucker just go to the opposite side. Go to the
that is a little bit of a question mark this year.
Yeah, stick to
the right tackle.
Yeah, put Kevin Hester on him. Just let him deal with him. Just here. You play with that. Let's disguise this and throw Kamen and everything else around on the other side. Is PJ Fleck going to be wearing suits again this year?
He always does the quarters at. Yeah. That's his thing. He was. If you haven't heard him talk about it, he tells everybody he was on Jim Tressel's staff at one point coming up, and that was a Tressel thing to wear the tie and at least the zip up. So that's the look that Fleck likes to go with, and I'm sure you'll see him in that on August 29th.
Yeah, man, I know he was sweating in Chapel Hill.
Dude, I was at the game, and I was hot, and I was sitting in the shade, bro. And I'm sitting there looking at this dude in a full blown suit, like, you animal, you can't help but respect that guy. I mean, of all things, you got to respect that guy for doing that. Real quickly before we wrap up, one last question for you all, and then Alan, if you happen to have anything, you can throw it in right after as well. Kurt, Max, whoever wants to start. We'll start with Max, then we'll go to Kurt last. North Carolina, Minnesota, up there in Minnesota, August 29th. Who wins?
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of gone back and forth on this one. I'm a little worried that I'm starting to lean back into being pessimistic, but I'm sure right before next couple of weeks here, I'll be right back onto the the Minnesota's going to go undefeated side. But I think just because Minnesota has had a pretty good track record lately of playing well in their opening games and especially at home. It's really nothing against North Carolina. I think, both schools having new quarterbacks this year. We'll kind of see how that goes. Game 1, I feel like college football is always a little bit interesting when you got new players coming in. Week 1 or even week 0 is always a little bit of a debacle, but I think we can pull it out. I think we can win it. I think just with the consistency that we can play with on defense, hopefully we can contain some of your skilled position players. And then I know PJ Fleck, he loves to just control the clock and run the football. So if he's going to play it that way, maybe we can take a couple shots, get ahead, get a lead, and then just run out the clock. But if it's a shootout, then I guess we'll see what Max Brosmer can do, because the last quarterback could not.
Yeah. I'm not kissing up. If you go back and listen to our our record prediction, I picked this game as a loss for the Gophers, and I am currently sticking with that as well. I think this defense will get better under this new defensive coordinator, but I just don't think North Carolina is the offense you want to see right out of the gate to start. We had trouble covering over the middle both at the safety position and the linebacker position. I think they'll get better as the year goes on. I just think you guys hit a few too many big plays in this one and eke out a close one. I think I wrote it down for the preseason prediction. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it was like a 31-26, 27 type game. So a close game, ultimately favoring North Carolina. But, I'm obviously hoping for a different result, but we'll see how it goes. Should be a good game.
Yeah, that's going to be. I honestly think it's going to be a great game. It's kind of funny, mention, North Carolina's not the offense you want to face coming out the gate. I'm thinking with this brand new offense when it pertains to the quarterback and the quarterback play, Minnesota defense is not what we really want to see because and we'll talk about it more when we get to the actual preview for the game. But sure. I don't, just going up against your guys' defense, hearing what you're saying, it sounds a lot like us. It doesn't sound like we need to run the ball on first down at all in the first quarter. That's what it sounds like. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. This is going to be a very interesting game. I think it's going to be fun, and college football fans are getting a treat week one.
Absolutely.
I honestly think it comes down to whose quarterback plays the best.
Mm-hmm. Both of them are seniors. Both of them are fifth-year guys.
I mean, both of them, have seen a lot of, have played a lot of snaps, seen a lot of defenses. But yeah, honestly, which quarterback is going to, either A, make the passes when it counts, or B, doesn't turn the ball over, does something silly and turns the ball over, whether it be a strip sack or just, a deflection over the middle. But yeah, it's a coin flip for me. I'm not even sure I'm picking North Carolina to win the first game of the season, just because it is at Minnesota. It is in a Big Ten stadium. Big Ten stadiums are humongous. The crowd is going to be absolutely on fire.
They got the fair going on too.
Yeah, and Nathan, this is just my final question, and this is a really fun one. If I'm going to the state fair, what do I need to eat?
Oh man,
I love it. I love it.
There's so much.
Well, the first one that comes to my mind is just the Sweet Martha cookies. It's a big bucket of chocolate chip cookies. She only does.
We don't have that here.
Really? I think the owner, she only goes to Minnesota and Texas, and that's like her full-time job. She's like a millionaire now off of these chocolate chip cookies. So yeah, you go there.
They're good cookies.
And they're just super soft, and you're eating them in 100-degree weather, but it's worth it. And then Max, I don't remember, but I know we went there together a couple of years ago. The cinnamon roll beer at the brewery, that was my favorite. It was the cinnamon on the rim. I don't remember what the brewery was called there, but that's my mini. It's a mini donut.
It's a mini donut.
Yeah. It's a mini donut beer, and I think it's delicious. And it's actually not overly sweet. It's just the sugar on the rim that they give you. But those are my two go-tos every time.
I don't think I've ever heard of that a day in my life. That is interesting.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I think it's really.
We ain't got that stuff down here. We ain't got that.
No, we don't. I mean, we at the South Carolina State Fair, we have a hamburger where the bun is 2 donuts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh really?
There's a hamburger and the buns are 2 donuts, and it's like $20 for a hamburger.
Do you guys deep fry Oreos up there?
Yeah, you can get a lot of deep fried stuff up there. I mean, honestly, the food portion is such a huge part of it. Like there's new stuff every year too. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to the state of Minnesota.
I always love when you see someone just walking down.
I
always love seeing someone who's walking down. They'll just have like a huge turkey leg, just biting off of it, and they're just like, it'll be like 105 degrees. It feels like because it's so humid, and they're just shirt off, don't care. Huge turkey leg, beer in the other hand, probably mini donut beer, and they're just there for a good time. It's like, oh, geez.
I swear it is. I typically get me and my wife and kids and my in-laws. We go once a year. Well. And it's the one time a year that I do not care. I don't I the day before I eat super early and I don't eat breakfast the day we're going, and I go there and I eat everything.
Yeah.
Last year I had like funnel cakes, I had the donut hamburger, I had like these like they take like a potato and like spiral cut it and like throw cheese, bacon, and ranch all over it. Fried Oreos, fried cookie dough. Oh man, and then
This
you
is
just
my
come
brother,
home
and
and
I
you're
didn't
just
even know
like,
this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is my.
you
It's not like
you
we
just
live
come
far away.
home.
He's just a minute down the road. I mean, good God,
It's
brother.
like 10 o'clock at night, and you're getting a shower, and you're so, and you're just like, you just feel like this massive piece of crap, and you're just like, what did I do with my life?
Ginger ale.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, oh, it's going to take the whole year to work this off,
Yeah.
but I can't. I just can't. I can't resist, dude. It's just so like it's so gross and so good at the same time. I just can't resist, and that's the one time a year I'll eat like 5,000 calories in an hour and regret it for the next week.
It's the best.
I can't. I love it. I love it so much.
That's probably one thing too. Now I think about it, that I actually do really get excited for. It's not even really like a food thing. It's just there's usually you have to pay for like your glass, but there's an unlimited milk stand. You can just go up and just refill your milk cup as many times as you want straight from the tank. I think it used to be $1. Now it's like $5. But
I think
that
PJ spends the lineman there. I think it's so big.
Yeah.
He would flip it.
So,
love that.
So you guys drink milk just for like soda?
Sure. Dinner.
I mean, it's usually with a meal, but
they got some type of. They're not.
Is that just a Midwest
man?
thing?
They get some food with it.
You don't have a glass of milk with dinner?
No.
No. It's sweet. You sweet tea? You do sweet tea?
No.
Yeah, and my wife does at like restaurants or something, but I don't. That's not
Do
something
they have that
out
up
on the
there?
table.
Wait, so
I think most restaurants have sweet tea, and maybe it's not.
It's probably not like real. It's probably
what you're accustomed to down there, but she orders
So
it.
I'm honestly just surprised they have them, because I've been to like places even in Virginia. They're like, yeah, we don't have it up here. Like,
it's you know what? It's
there's a
probably
line in
fake.
the middle of
It's probably fake sweet tea. I don't know. I guess I mean, like, if I'm out at a restaurant, I don't order milk, but it's like an at-home thing. You know, like your mom
so that's going to be my question. Like, do you go to do like people legit go to the restaurant and order milk with like a ribeye?
Right? No, I don't think so.
No. I'm sure they do, but not very often.
Yeah,
not common.
I'm sure they'd bring it to you.
It just seems like the milk is like your hydration tank. Like we have like you go to like the North Carolina football games, like they have like these like humongous like Gatorade things, but it's water. Like, and I'm just picturing like this humongous Gatorade thing at the state fair, and it's just like a milk on tap. You just like whole milk. I mean, do you have a preference? Is it 2% whole milk, skim? Please don't tell me it's butter.
I think it's just white or chocolate.
Yeah,
white or chocolate. Yes.
Yeah. And you said a Gatorade jug. This is like a whole, like it had to come on a truck. It's a huge metal thing. It's got to last the whole day.
It's like a tanker?
It's like they're getting a beer delivery, but it's with milk. That is awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That would be worth it just to see like a big tanker with a tap that's full of milk. Like, I mean, I see like tanker trucks that say on the side, like you used to see them that say got milk, and I was like, is that really full of milk? Obviously, it's coming to you guys.
There are not a lot of cows in North Carolina.
No, we got a ton of cows.
We just don't.
I don't think there's a lot of
okay. All right.
I think they're just like pet cows or beef cows, maybe.
They just sit there and moo and eat grass. Yeah. And that's about it. That's all they do.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of quote unquote dairy farms or anything.
No, we don't.
We border Wisconsin, and that's like their claim to fame.
Cheese.
So.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Jeez, wow, that's
crazy.
A mix of cultures, I tell you. This is what the scouting report's all about. Not only we get information about the opposing football team that we're going to be facing, but also we find out about their culture and everything. We got a lot of places to cover this year. This is amazing.
I like what we're doing with the scouting report. Like, I never would have thought that I could just like go up to a tanker truck at the state fair and get a glass of milk. You know,
dude, we got a couple of weeks, man. We could still make it. Up.
You can. It goes on for like 2 weeks or so. So you got a window there.
Shoot, we'll have to do that. Well, Hill Brothers Vlogs in Minnesota. There we go. Boom.
There you go.
There we are. But hey,
You just
hopefully you all have enjoyed the very first episode of the Scouting Report. We could not have kicked it off any better than what
Yeah,
we
this
just
is-
did
this
right
is the
there with
best.
the EU podcast. Max, Kurt, and what was the other name?
Spencer.
Spencer. Then I almost said Steven. But
That's all right.
Spencer, be sure and go follow them. If you're a Minnesota fan and you are watching this, be sure and go follow the Ski podcast. They do a great job over there. We are so thankful that you guys came on and shared your knowledge about the football team and also your dairy treats and things up there in Minnesota. That is awesome. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have a longer conversation about this at another time. Like that's
Milkshakes? I guess y'all like milkshakes.
Yeah. Milkshakes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of the kind of weird things they do with milk. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. And as always, go Heels.
Go Hills.
You don't want none.
I'm good, I will see the